Have you ever noticed that the most powerful people never show what they're thinking? They don't react when insulted. They don't celebrate when they win. They don't panic when threatened. They simply observe, calculate, and act with cold precision. While most people wear their hearts on their sleeves, these individuals have mastered something ancient and dangerous. While many let emotions control their decisions, these people have learned to weaponize emotional detachment. And when you ask them how they do it, the answer is never about suppressing feelings. It's about something much older and much more ruthless. In 3rd century BC China, during the Warring States period, there was a philosophy that separated ordinary rulers from legendary ones. This philosophy didn't speak of kindness or virtue. It spoke of something the Chinese called Fei, the law. But this wasn't law as we understand it. This was a system of absolute control, of strategic detachment, of becoming untouchable through emotional absence. This philosophy created emperors who unified nations. It built the infrastructure of China's first empire, and it was brutally suppressed for centuries because it was considered too dangerous, too effective, too cold for civilized society. But the original essence of legalism, specifically the teachings of Han Fei, had nothing to do with tyranny for tyranny's sake. It was about one simple and devastatingly powerful thing: power through emotional absence. Today, you'll discover what this forbidden philosophy really means and how it can transform you from someone who is controlled by their emotions into someone who cannot be manipulated, cannot be broken, cannot be touched. But first, I need to tell you the story of a man who felt everything and lost everything because of it. Before we begin, I need to make something clear. There are two types of emotional control. There's suppression, which we can call denial, pretending you don't feel anything while the emotions eat you alive inside. And there's detachment, which is true power, acknowledging emotions exist, but refusing to let them dictate your actions. We can call this second type Wu Wei in legalism, action without emotional interference. If you watched the last video on the channel, you understand the difference between knowing and doing. Today, we go deeper. Today, we talk about being versus feeling, making this clear right from the start so there's no confusion in your minds. Before we go to the video, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like it below, and comment. What emotion controls you the most? What feeling makes you act in ways you later regret? What emotional reaction do people use to manipulate you? Leave a comment, but also help others who comment. Maybe some of them struggle in an area you've mastered. Let's create a community of people who help each other become untouchable. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Back to the video. Year 245 BC, Warring States period, China. Wei Zhao was 28 years old and had already lost 3 positions at court. The son of a minor official, he had intelligence, education, and ambition. He had studied Confucius, memorized the classics, and understood governance better than men twice his age. But he had a devastating problem. He felt everything. When praised, his face lit up with joy. When criticized, he bristled with anger. When threatened, fear showed in his eyes. When insulted, rage poured from his mouth. His emotions were written across his face like characters on silk. Everyone could read him. Everyone could manipulate him. His first position ended when a rival courtier discovered Wei Zhao's weakness. The rival praised him publicly, showered him with compliments, learned his secrets through false friendship. Then, at the perfect moment, used those secrets to destroy him. Wei Zhao never saw it coming. He thought the man was his friend. His emotions had blinded him. His second position ended when he lost his temper during a council meeting. A senior official questioned his proposal. Wei Zhao, feeling disrespected, raised his voice. He argued passionately, defending his honor. The room fell silent. In that silence, Wei Zhao realized his mistake. He had shown weakness. Powerful men don't need to defend themselves. Powerful men simply are. He was dismissed the next day. His third position ended when fear betrayed him. Rumors of war spread through the capital. Wei Zhao, terrified of what conflict might mean for his career, began hoarding resources, making desperate alliances, acting from panic rather than strategy. His superiors noticed. Fear makes men predictable. Predictable men are useless. He was cast out again. Now, at 28, Wei Zhao sat in a small room with nothing. No position, no prospects, no future. His father's words echoed in his mind. You have the mind of a strategist, but the heart of a child. Until you master your emotions, you will master nothing. Wei Zhao didn't sleep that night. He stared at the ceiling, replaying every failure, every moment his emotions had betrayed him. The anger that made him stupid, the fear that made him weak, the joy that made him trusting, the pride that made him blind. He hated himself, and in that hatred, he made a decision. He would find someone who could teach him what he needed most: how to become untouchable. Wei Zhao spent weeks searching. He asked scholars, officials, merchants, who in this city cannot be manipulated, who never shows emotion, who holds power through detachment. The same name kept appearing. Master Shun. No one knew much about him. He lived on the outskirts of the capital in a compound surrounded by walls. He had been an advisor to 3 different lords, all of whom had prospered under his counsel. But he served no one now. He had withdrawn from court life entirely. Why did he leave? Wei Zhao asked a former court official who had known Shun. The man's face darkened. Because he became too powerful. When your lord can't read you, when he doesn't know what you want or fear, when you become a mystery even to the man you serve, you become dangerous. Shun left before they could kill him. Wei Zhao found a compound on a cold morning. The walls were high, gray, and featureless. He knocked on a heavy wooden door. No answer. He knocked again. Nothing. He returned the next day, and the next, and the next. On the 7th day, the door opened. An elderly man stood there, his face completely neutral. Not welcoming, not hostile, absolutely nothing. What do you want? The voice was flat, devoid of emotion. Master Shun, I asked what you want, not who you are. What do you want? Wei Zhao swallowed. I want to learn how to control my emotions. Wrong. Shun began to close the door. Wait. Wei Zhao put his hand against the door. Please. I need to become stronger. I keep failing because people can read me, manipulate me, use my feelings against me. I need to. You need to become untouchable, Shun finished. His eyes studied Wei Zhao's face. You don't want to control emotions. You want to become immune to them. There's a difference. Yes, Wei Zhao breathed. Yes, that's exactly it. Shun was silent for a long moment. Then, do you know why people can manipulate you? Because I show my emotions? Partially, but deeper than that. People manipulate you because you believe your emotions are important. You think when you feel angry, anger matters. When you feel afraid, fear must be addressed. When you feel joy, joy should be expressed. This belief makes you a puppet. Your emotions are the strings. Anyone can pull them. Wei Zhao felt something shift in his mind. So, emotions aren't important. Emotions exist. That's all. They're signals, nothing more. Like pain telling you your hand is on hot surface. The signal has information, but you don't stop to feel the pain deeply. You move your hand. You act despite the pain, not because of it. I don't understand. Of course you don't. Come back tomorrow at dawn. If you arrive on time, I'll consider teaching you. If you don't come back. The door closed. Wei Zhao stood there, heart pounding. For the first time in weeks, he felt something unexpected. Hope. And immediately, he recognized the danger in that feeling. Wei Zhao arrived before dawn. He waited in the cold darkness until the first light touched the horizon. The door opened. Shun stood there, holding 2 cups of tea. He handed one to Wei Zhao without a word and gestured for him to enter. The compound was sparse. Bare walls. Simple furniture. Nothing decorative, nothing personal. It felt empty. Deliberately empty. Shun sat across from Wei Zhao at a low table. Today I will show you why you fail. Then I will show you how to stop failing. He reached into his robe and pulled out a small pouch. From it, he took several silver coins and placed them on the table. These represent a promotion you desperately want. I'm going to offer them to you. Shun slid the coins toward Wei Zhao. Take them. Wei Zhao reached for the coins. As his hand touched them, Shun watched his face intently. Stop, Shun said. Wei Zhao froze. What did your face just do? I don't know. Your eyes widened slightly. The corners of your mouth lifted. Your breathing quickened. In 3 seconds, you told me. You want this, you're excited, and you're grateful. Now I know how to control you. Offer you rewards. Watch you perform like a trained dog. Wei Zhao pulled his hand back, shame burning in his chest. Shen continued. Now these coins represent a threat. He pulled out a knife and placed it next to the coins. I'm going to take everything from you unless you comply with my demands. Immediately, Wei Zhao felt his jaw tighten, his shoulders tense. Stop. What did your face just do? I tensed up. Your face showed fear. Your body prepared for conflict. Your eyes darted to the exits. In 2 seconds, you told me. You're afraid, you're calculating escape, and you'll do anything to avoid this threat. Now I know you're controllable through intimidation. Shen removed the knife and coins. This is why you failed. Your face is a book anyone can read. Your body is a banner announcing your internal state. You have no defenses because you have no mask. So, I need to hide my emotions? No. You need to eliminate the connection between feeling and expression. There's a technique from the old legalist texts. Han Fei wrote about it. He called it Wu Wei Wu Xing, acting without form, existing without shape. Your face becomes a wall. Your voice becomes flat. Your body becomes still. Not because you're suppressing, because you've severed the pathway between internal state and external display. Ow! Shen stood up and walked to the wall. He stood facing it, perfectly still. Come here. Face the wall with me. Wei Zhao joined him, confused. We will stand here for 1 hour. You will feel discomfort, boredom, frustration, anger. Your body will want to move. Your mind will want to leave. And you will allow none of it to show. Your face will remain neutral. Your breathing will remain steady. You will become stone. That's it. Just standing. In standing, you learn separation. In stillness, you discover the space between stimulus and response. Begin. The first 10 minutes were easy. Wei Zhao stood, staring at the blank wall. By 15 minutes, his mind wandered. Thoughts appeared. Judgments formed. This is stupid. What am I learning? This is a waste of time. His face began to show irritation. His brow furrowed. Your face moved, Shen said from beside him, his own face perfectly still. Begin again. 1 hour from now. Wei Zhao's heart sank. He'd been reset. Another hour. This time, he paid attention. Every time a thought arose, his face wanted to react. Every time discomfort appeared, his body wanted to shift. And every time he caught himself, he froze the reaction before it formed. By the end of the true first hour, something had changed. His face genuinely felt neutral, not forced, just absent of expression. Better, Shun said, finally moving. You've taken a first step. You've discovered that expression is a choice, not a requirement. Most people never learn this. They believe feeling necessitates showing. You now know differently. Day 3. Shun sat Wei Zhao down in the empty courtyard. Today we test what you've learned. I'm going to insult you. Your job is to show nothing. Wei Zhao nodded, confident after 2 days of wall-facing practice. Shun's eyes met his. You're a failure. 3 positions lost. Your father is ashamed of you. You're weak, pathetic, and you'll never amount to anything. You're wasting my time. Wei Zhao felt anger flash through him. Huh. Immediate. His jaw clenched. His eyes hardened. Stop. You failed. Your face showed anger. Your body tensed. What? Because. Wei Zhao struggled. Because what you said wasn't true. Irrelevant. I could speak truth or lies. The words are just sounds. You chose to assign them power. You chose to let them into your mind and create emotion. This is your weakness. Shen leaned forward. Let me tell you what Han Fei understood that Confucians never did. Words have no inherent power. They only have the power you give them. When someone insults you, they're not attacking you. They're making sounds with their mouth. You hear those sounds, interpret them, generate emotion, and react. For steps. For chances to intercept. How do I intercept? By understanding the true nature of communication. People don't speak to convey truth. They speak to manipulate, to influence, to control. Every word from another person's mouth is strategy. When you hear an insult, you're not hearing truth. You're hearing an attempt at control. Recognize it as such, and it loses power. Shin stood up. We'll practice this for the next hour. I will insult you continuously. You will sit there with a neutral face, not pretending you don't care, actually not caring, because you understand these words are just. He paused. What are they? Attempts at control. Good. Begin. What followed was psychological warfare. Shin attacked everything. Wei Zhao's appearance, intelligence, family, future, manhood, worth. The insults were creative, cutting, designed to wound. At first, Wei Zhao's face betrayed him constantly. Anger, hurt, shame. Each emotion flickered across his features. But gradually something shifted. He began to hear the insults differently. Not as truth, not even as lies, just as sounds, strategic sounds, like watching someone try to pick a lock. Fascinating to observe, not threatening to experience. By the end, Shan was calling him the vilest things imaginable. And Wei Zhao's face remained perfectly still. Not because he was suppressing, because somewhere in the last 30 minutes, he'd genuinely stopped caring. Shin stopped mid-insult. He studied Wei Zhao's face carefully. Then, for the first time, he smiled. Just barely. Now you're beginning to understand. How does it feel? It feels. Wei Zhao searched for the word. Empty. Yes, but not bad empty. Powerful empty. The emptiness of a fortress with no doors. No way in. No way to hurt you. This is what Han Fei called strategic emptiness. You just experienced your first taste of being untouchable. That evening, Shin finally began teaching theory. You need to understand where this comes from. During the Warring States period, China was chaos. 7 kingdoms fighting for supremacy. Confucians preached virtue, righteousness, benevolence. And they were slaughtered. Their kingdoms fell. Why? Wei Zhao thought. Because virtue doesn't win wars. Partially. But deeper. Because emotional investment in moral concepts makes you predictable. If I know you value honor, I attack your honor. If I know you value loyalty, I exploit your loyal people. If I know you value compassion, I create situations where compassion weakens you. Your values become weapons against you. Shun poured tea, his movements precise and economical. Then came the legalists. Han Fei, Shan Yang, Shun Dao. They looked at the carnage and asked, what if we removed emotional attachment entirely? What if a ruler operated purely on strategy, on law, on calculated self-interest? And they won, Wei Zhao realized. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unify China, used legalist philosophy. He was ruthless, emotionless in decision-making, impossible to manipulate. He didn't love his people. He didn't hate his enemies. He simply calculated, what action increases my power? Then he executed that action without hesitation, without regret, without joy. That sounds monstrous. It sounds monstrous to Confucians. To legalists, it sounds effective. And effectiveness is the only metric that matters when survival is at stake. Shin leaned back. But here's what people misunderstand about legalism. It wasn't about cruelty for cruelty's sake. It was about freedom from emotional manipulation. When you care about nothing, nothing can control you. When you fear nothing, nothing can threaten you. When you desire nothing, nothing can tempt you. But we're human. We have emotions. We can't just stop feeling. Correct. And this is where most people misunderstand the philosophy. Han Fei didn't advocate for destroying emotions. He advocated for separating them from decision-making. Feel whatever you want, then act according to strategy alone. Shin drew a diagram in the dirt of the courtyard. Most people do this. He drew a line directly from emotion to action, bypassing the middle steps. They feel anger, they act from anger. They feel fear, they act from fear. They're puppets of their internal state. Legalism inserts 2 critical steps: observation and strategy. You feel anger. You observe that you're feeling anger. You don't judge it, don't act on it. You simply note, interesting, the anger signal has appeared. Then you ask, what is the strategically optimal action here, regardless of what I'm feeling? Then you do that action, even if the action contradicts the emotion. Even if you're terrified, but strategy demands boldness. Even if you're furious, but strategy demands patience. Wei Zhao stared at the diagram. This is what I've been missing. Yes, you've been living in emotional reaction. Now you'll learn strategic action. The emotions don't go away. They just stop matching. Week 2. Shun decided Wei Zhao was ready for the advanced test. You've learned to handle pain and insults. Now we test something harder, desire. Shun brought out a sealed letter. This contains a recommendation for a high position at court. My name still carries weight. This letter would guarantee your appointment. Wei Zhao felt his heart rate increase immediately. This was exactly what he needed. This was the answer to all his problems. Shun placed the letter on the table between them. It's yours if you want it. Simply reach out and take it. Wei Zhao stared at the letter. Every fiber of his being screamed to grab it. But something in Shun's tone warned him. This was a test. What's the catch? No catch. The letter is real. The position is real. Take it if you want it. Wei Zhao's hand hovered over the letter. He could feel the desire like a physical ache. And then he looked at his hand. It was shaking. Slightly, but shaking. He pulled his hand back. Why? Shun asked, face neutral. Because I want it too much. The wanting is controlling me. If I take it now, I prove I'm still a slave to desire. Shun said nothing for a long moment. Then he picked up the letter and tossed it into the brazier nearby. The paper caught fire immediately, curling into ash. Wei Zhao watched his future burn, and he felt nothing. Well, not nothing. He felt disappointment, but he observed the disappointment rather than becoming it. Good, Shun finally said. You passed. The letter was blank paper. There was no position. But if you had reached for it with that shaking hand, I would have sent you away. Because a man who can be controlled by desire is not yet ready for power. But don't we need to want things? Don't we need ambition? Han Fei addressed this. He said, have desires, but don't be enslaved by them. Yes, you can want a position. But when that want makes your hand shake, when it makes you act desperately, when people can dangle it in front of you and make you dance, that's slavery. So what's the alternative? Strategic preference. You prefer certain outcomes. If they occur, good. If they don't, also good. Your internal state doesn't change based on external circumstances. You want the position? Fine. Work toward it strategically. But if it doesn't come, your equanimity remains undisturbed. Shun poured more tea. This is the secret of untouchability. When nothing can disturb your internal state, you become invulnerable to manipulation. People control others through two levers, fear and desire. Remove both, and you become impossible to control. Month 3. Wei Zhao had transformed. His face had become a wall. His voice had become flat and controlled. His body language revealed nothing. But Shun said he wasn't finished. You've mastered the external. Now I'll teach you the internal. The principle that makes everything else work. Are you ready? Yes. You are already dead. Wei Zhao blinked. What? This is the ultimate legalist principle. The secret that makes emotional detachment not just possible, but effortless. You're already dead. Shun stood up and walked to the center of the courtyard. In 233 BC, Han Fei himself died in prison, likely poisoned by a rival. He knew it was coming. He could have fled, begged, compromised. He did none of these things. Why? Because he had fully internalized his own philosophy. He was already dead. The moment you're born, your death is guaranteed. It's not a possibility. It's a certainty. You will die. Once you truly accept this, not intellectually, but in your bones, everything changes. What can threaten a dead man? What can tempt a dead man? What can insult a dead man? Wei Zhao felt something cold and vast open inside him. Every fear you have is predicated on believing you're permanent. Fear of losing your position? You'll lose everything eventually through death anyway. Fear of humiliation? The memory of it dies with everyone who witnessed it. Fear of pain? It's temporary, and then you die and feel nothing forever. Every desire you have is predicated on believing acquisition matters. Want wealth? Can't take it with you. Want status? It ends at death. Want pleasure? It's a brief chemical reaction in a body that's already decaying. This sounds depressing, Wei Zhao said quietly. To the unenlightened, yes. To the legalist, it's liberation. When you're already dead, you're finally free. Free to act strategically without emotional interference. free to make hard decisions without regret, free to face any threat without fear. Shen's voice was firm. This is what Han Fei meant when he wrote, "The sage ruler is empty and still, letting names define themselves and affairs manage themselves." Empty means internally absent of attachment. Still means undisturbed by external events. You become like water, formless, adaptable, unconquerable. There's a famous story about Shun Buhai, one of the early legalists. An assassin was sent to kill him. The assassin found him sitting in his garden, drinking tea. The assassin said, "I'm here to kill you." Shun Buhai said, "Then you should do your job." And he continued drinking tea, showing no fear whatsoever. The assassin was so unnerved by this response that he left without completing his mission. Why did that work? Wei Zhao asked. Because a man who doesn't fear death cannot be threatened. The assassin's power came from inspiring fear. When Shin Buhai showed none, the assassin's technique became useless. This is strategic emotional absence. Not pretending you're not afraid. Actually not being afraid because you've accepted the worst possible outcome as inevitable anyway. Month 4. Shen told Wei Zhao it was time for the final test. "I'm going to create a situation where every emotional trigger we've worked on will be activated simultaneously. You'll face insult, threat, desire, and pain all at once. If you maintain the face of stone and act strategically rather than emotionally, you pass. If you break, you leave and never return." Wei Zhao felt his pulse quicken. Then he observed it. Interesting. The body is creating adrenaline. Noted. I'm ready. What Shen did next was cruel by design. He brought in 3 actors, former courtiers who owed him favors. They performed an elaborate scenario. One played a rival who mocked Wei Zhao's past failures in vivid, creative detail. Another played a lord offering a position, then snatching it away repeatedly, playing with Wei Zhao's hopes like a cat with a mouse. The third played a physical threat, brandishing a weapon, making clear that Wei Zhao's life could end at any moment. All 3 attacked simultaneously. Verbal assault, emotional manipulation, physical intimidation. It was overwhelming. Wei Zhao sat in the center of it, perfectly still. He felt anger at the mockery. He observed it. Anger, signal present. Strategically, response would show weakness. Ignore. He felt desperate desire when the position was offered. He observed it. Desire, signal present. Reaching would show vulnerability. Remain still. He felt fear when the weapon came close to his face. He observed it. Fear, signal present. But I'm already dead. This threat is meaningless. His face showed nothing. His body remained relaxed. His breathing stayed even. After 30 minutes of relentless psychological assault, the 3 actors stopped, exhausted. They looked at Shun, astonished. He didn't break, not even once. Shun dismissed them and sat across from Wei Zhao. For the second time, he smiled. "You are no longer the man who came to my door. That man was a slave. This man is a master." "How do you feel?" Shen asked. Wei Zhao considered. "I feel clear." The emotions were there, anger, fear, desire, but they were like clouds passing across the sky. I was the sky. They couldn't touch me. Perfect. You understand. Now I'll tell you what comes next. Shen made good on the promised recommendation. A real one this time. Within a week, Wei Zhao had a position as a junior advisor to a regional lord. But he was different now. Profoundly different. In his first council meeting, a senior official tried the same tactic that had destroyed him years before, public praise followed by false friendship. Wei Zhao saw it immediately. He accepted the praise with a neutral face, gave nothing back, offered no warmth, created no bond. The official had nothing to work with. The manipulation failed before it began. In his second week, another advisor tried to intimidate him with connections and threats. Wei Zhao listened with a blank face, said, "I understand," and went about his work unchanged. The advisor was confused. Usually threats produced fear, and fear produced compliance. This man showed nothing. The threats became meaningless. In his third week, the Lord himself tested Wei Zhao. He offered a promotion with impossible conditions, watching to see desperation or eagerness. Wei Zhao's face remained neutral. If the conditions are met, I will accept. If not, I'm content in my current role. The Lord, impressed by the lack of desperation, made the offer genuine. Within 6 months, Wei Zhao had become indispensable. Not because he was the smartest or most skilled, but because he was impossible to manipulate. The Lord could never read him. Rivals couldn't bait him. Schemers couldn't trap him. He had become untouchable. And in becoming untouchable, he had become powerful. 5 years later, Wei Zhao was now a senior minister. He commanded respect not through charisma, but through competence and strategic detachment. And one day, a young official came to him. The young man reminded Wei Zhao of himself, intelligent, ambitious, but emotionally transparent and constantly manipulated. Minister Wei, the young man said, I've watched you for months. You never react. You never show weakness. People can't seem to control you the way they control everyone else. How do you do it? Wei Zhao looked at the young man. He saw desperation in his eyes. Hope, fear, all of it visible, all of it exploitable. Do you truly want to learn? Wei Zhao asked, his voice flat. Yes, please. I'll do anything. Wei Zhao stood up and walked to his wall. He faced it, standing perfectly still. Come here. Stand beside me. We will stand here for 1 hour. You will feel many things. You will show none of them. Begin. As the young man stood there, confused and uncomfortable, Wei Zhao spoke without moving. I will teach you what Master Shin taught me. I will teach you what Han Fei discovered 2,500 years ago. I will teach you how to become untouchable. But first, you must understand something fundamental. This path makes you powerful. It also makes you alone. When you cannot be read, people become uncomfortable. When you cannot be manipulated, people become wary. When you show no weakness, people see you as inhuman. Is it worth it? The young man asked. That depends. Do you want to be liked? Or do you want to be powerful? Do you want warm relationships? Or do you want strategic control? Do you want to feel deeply? Or do you want to act effectively? The young man was silent. These are not easy questions, Wei Zhao continued. Han Fei himself died alone, poisoned, friendless. Legalism gives you power, but takes your humanity. Or rather, it takes what others recognize as humanity. You will still feel, but you will feel alone because no one will see it. You will become a mystery. Mysteries are powerful. They're also isolated. I still want to learn, the young man said quietly. Wei Zhao nodded. Then tomorrow at dawn, meet me here. If you arrive on time, I'll consider teaching you. If not, don't come back. The cycle continued. Wei Zhao leaned back. But I must warn you about something. Just as Yamato Damashi was distorted into militaristic fanaticism, legalism has been twisted into justification for cruelty. After the Qin dynasty fell, the dynasty built on legalist principles. Confucian scholars spent centuries demonizing legalism. They said it was evil, inhumane, tyrannical, and they weren't entirely wrong. When legalist principles are applied without wisdom, they become monstrous. Qin Shi Huang buried scholars alive. He burned books. He built the Great Wall with slave labor that killed thousands. He did all of this with emotional detachment, strategic calculation, and absolute efficiency. The Confucians pointed at this and said, "See, this is where legalism leads." But they missed something crucial, Wei Zhao continued. The problem wasn't legalism itself. It was legalism without restraint, without purpose beyond power accumulation. Han Fei never advocated cruelty for cruelty's sake. He advocated strategic action unclouded by emotion. There's a difference. A surgeon cuts into flesh. He causes pain, but we don't call him cruel because his cutting serves a purpose, healing. Similarly, a leader might make harsh decisions that cause suffering. If those decisions serve a strategic purpose, stability, survival, long-term prosperity, they're not cruel. They're surgical. The problem comes when you detach from emotion but forget to attach to purpose. Then you become a psychopath, acting without feeling, without direction, causing harm without reason. The young man looked troubled. So how do we avoid that? By remembering Han Fei's own fate. He died betrayed by the very system he helped create. Why? Because he became so effective at strategic detachment that he forgot one crucial thing. Other people are not strategic. They are emotional. And when you stop accounting for their emotions entirely, when you treat them purely as pieces on a board, they eventually turn on you. The perfect legalist is untouchable, but untouchable can become unreachable. Unreachable becomes isolated. Isolated becomes vulnerable. It's a paradox. The very thing that makes you powerful can ultimately destroy you if taken too far. Wei Zhao looked directly at the young man. So I'll teach you to become untouchable, but I'll also teach you when to choose to be touched. Strategic detachment is a tool, not a lifestyle. Master the tool, but don't become the tool. The young man left. Wei Zhao sat alone in his chamber, reflecting on how far he'd come. From an emotional wreck who lost 3 positions to a man who could sit in council meetings like a statue, unmoved by flattery or threat. But the principles he'd learned weren't just for ancient Chinese courts. They were universal. Human psychology hasn't changed in 2,500 years. People still manipulate through fear and desire. They still exploit emotional reactions. They still prey on those who show weakness. And in the modern world, emotional manipulation had become more sophisticated, more pervasive, more dangerous. Think about it. Every advertisement is designed to create desire. Every news headline is crafted to trigger fear or outrage. Every social media post is optimized to provoke emotional reaction. The entire digital landscape is a massive manipulation machine, and most people are completely defenseless against it. Why? Because they never learned what Han Fei taught. They never learned to observe emotions without becoming them. They never learned to separate feeling from action. They never learned to become untouchable. Modern application principle 1, social media detachment. In Han Fei's time, insults came from courtiers in council meetings. Today, they come from strangers on the internet. But the principle remains the same. Words are just strategic sounds. They have no inherent power. When someone insults you online, they're not attacking you. They're attempting to control you by triggering an emotional reaction. If you respond with anger, argue back, try to defend yourself, you've been controlled. You've proven their words have power over your internal state. The legalist approach, see the insult. Note that someone is attempting manipulation. Observe any emotional response arising within you. Then ask, what is the strategically optimal action here? Often, the answer is, do nothing. Say nothing. A neutral face, even in text form, is undefeatable. Modern application principle 2, career detachment. You want a promotion. Your boss knows you want it. Now your boss has leverage. They can dangle it in front of you, extract extra work, make you compete against colleagues, watch you dance. The legalist approach, yes, prefer the promotion. Work toward it strategically, but detach your internal state from the outcome. If you get it, fine. If you don't, also fine. Your equanimity remains undisturbed either way. This sounds weak. It's actually the strongest position possible. When your boss realizes they can't manipulate you through desire, when they see you're equally content with or without the promotion, paradoxically, you become more valuable. Desperate people are disposable. Detached people are indispensable. Modern application principle 3, relationship detachment. This is the hardest one. We're told love requires vulnerability, openness, emotional availability. And at some level it does. But there's a difference between chosen vulnerability and uncontrolled emotional reactivity. In relationships, emotional manipulation is constant. If you love me, you always make me feel. I can't believe you would. These are control attempts disguised as intimacy. The legalist approach, feel love if you want. But don't let emotional manipulation determine your actions. When your partner tries to guilt you into compliance, recognize it as a strategic maneuver. See it clearly. Then decide, is this request legitimate? If yes, comply because it's strategic, not because you feel guilty. If no, refuse, calmly, neutrally, without anger or justification. This doesn't make you cold. It makes you immune to manipulation while remaining capable of genuine connection. The difference is crucial. Modern application principle 4, fear detachment. Modern society runs on fear. Fear of missing out. Fear of being left behind. Fear of not having enough. Fear of dying. Fear of living. Every fear is a lever someone can pull. The legalist approach. You are already dead. Seriously, internalize this. You will die. Your career will end. Your relationships will end. Your health will fail. Your youth will disappear. Everything you have will be lost. This is not pessimism. This is reality. Once you truly accept this, not intellectually, but viscerally, most fears become irrelevant. Afraid of losing your job? You'll lose it eventually through retirement or death anyway. Afraid of rejection? Everyone who could reject you will die, including you. Afraid of failure? Failure is temporary, and then you die. This isn't depressing. This is liberating. When you have nothing to lose because you've already lost everything, through accepting mortality, you become fearless. Not reckless, fearless. Big difference. Years later, Wei Zhao's student had become a master himself. He took a position at court, and people quickly learned, this man cannot be read, cannot be manipulated, cannot be broken. And one day, a desperate young official came to him with fear in his eyes and hope in his voice. Please teach me how you stay so calm, so controlled. People exploit my emotions constantly. I can't stop reacting. I need to change. The student, now the teacher, looked at this young official and saw his former self. He stood up and walked to his wall. He stood facing it perfectly still. Come here, he said. Stand beside me. As the young official joined him, confused and uncertain, the teacher spoke without moving. We will stand here for 1 hour. You will feel discomfort, confusion, frustration. You will show none of it. This is the first lesson. The lesson of separation. The lesson of the face of stone. Is it difficult? The young official asked. At first, unbearably so. Eventually, effortlessly so. The difficulty is in breaking the habit of emotional display. Once broken, neutrality becomes natural. They stood in silence. Minutes passed. The young official's face began to show boredom, then frustration, then anger. The teacher, without moving, said, Your face betrayed you 3 times in the last minute. Begin again. Another hour. The young official's heart sank. But he stayed, because somewhere deep inside, he knew this was what he needed. Not motivation, not inspiration, transformation. The cycle continued, as it had for 2,500 years, as it would for 2,500 more. Because human nature doesn't change. The need for control doesn't change. And the path to becoming untouchable remains the same. Observe emotion. Separate from it. Act strategically. Become stone when necessary. Become human when safe. Master the weapon. Don't become the weapon. So now we come to you. The person watching this video right now. You've learned the philosophy. You've seen the techniques. You understand the principles. But knowledge without action is worthless. Han Fei would tell you this himself. You have a choice to make. Not a small choice. A fundamental choice about who you want to be. Choice 1. Continue as you are. Keep showing every emotion on your face. Keep letting people read you like a book. Keep being manipulated through fear and desire. Keep reacting emotionally to insults, threats, and temptations. Stay controllable. Stay predictable. Stay vulnerable. There's no shame in this choice. Most people make it. They live emotional lives. They form warm connections. They're transparent and open. They're also constantly manipulated, frequently disappointed, and perpetually at the mercy of their internal state. But it's a valid choice. Choice 2. Begin the path to untouchability. Start today. Stand facing a wall for 1 hour. Practice the face of stone in the mirror. Observe your emotions without becoming them. Separate stimulus from response. Become strategically detached. Master control over your internal state. Become impossible to manipulate. This path is harder. It requires discipline, practice, and a willingness to become someone new. You'll lose the comfort of emotional reactivity. You'll lose the excuse of, I couldn't help how I felt. You'll lose the ability to blame your emotions for your actions. But you'll gain something far more valuable: freedom. Freedom from manipulation. Freedom from emotional slavery. freedom from the constant internal chaos that controls most people's lives. The question is simple. Do you want to be controlled, or do you want to be in control? If you choose the second path, here's what you do right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Step 1. Find a wall. Face it. Stand there for 10 minutes without moving. Practice the face of stone. Feel the discomfort. Observe it. Don't become it. Step 2. Identify the emotion that controls you most. Fear, anger, desire, shame? Write it down. Then write, "This emotion is a signal, not a command. It does not control my actions. I control my actions." Step 3. For the next 7 days, every single day, practice one technique from this video. The face of stone. The observation gap. Strategic response training. Whatever resonates. 7 days. No excuses. No negotiations. If you do these 3 things, you'll have taken the first real step. Not toward becoming a monster. Toward becoming untouchable. Toward mastering yourself in a world designed to control you. Han Fei died in prison. Isolated. Betrayed. Alone. Some people point to this and say, "See, his philosophy failed him." But I see something different. Han Fei lived his entire life on his own terms. He refused to bow to kings when principle dictated otherwise. He refused to flee when fear told him to. He refused to compromise when pressure mounted. Even in prison, facing death, he maintained his philosophy to the end. He died free in his mind, even as his body was imprisoned. Most people die having never been free. They live as slaves to their emotions, to social pressure, to fear and desire, to what others think. They die having never made a single decision purely from strategy, purely from choice, purely from their own untouchable will. Han Fei died free. That's not failure. That's mastery. 2,500 years later, we're still talking about his ideas. We're still learning from his philosophy. We're still using his techniques. His body died in that prison. His mind, his principles, his path to untouchability, these became immortal. You won't live forever. Your emotions won't live forever. The people trying to manipulate you won't live forever. But the choice you make today, to remain controllable or to become untouchable, that choice echoes through every day you have left. Choose wisely. Choose strategically. Choose like a legalist. The face of stone is waiting for you. The question is, are you ready to put it on?